What is this? A center for ants? How can we be expected to teach children to learn how to read if they can't even fit inside the building?
Want to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Master the Art of Connecting and professional speaker Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on the planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you something a little more exciting.
It might be a bit hard for y'all to relate to this, but after a semester of working with Lou, we're a little burnt out from him constantly bothering and badgering us about menial tasks.
So, we decided we needed to do something drastic. Something that shows who really runs this thing.
Sorry, Lou. It's been great and all, but it's time we took center stage. Say goodbye to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. It's time for an Intern Takeover.
Welcome back to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, but this time it's the interns.
Hi everyone, my name is Zoe Gordon, and I'm a sophomore studying communication at Cornell.
My name is Liam Monahan, and just like Zoe, I am also a sophomore studying communication at Cornell.
And to add on to that, my name's Adele, and I am a sophomore communication major at Cornell.
I'm John Coffey. I'm a junior biology major here at Cornell. And if you ever want to connect with me on Instagram, my Instagram is johncoffey5701.
You might know us from the 700th episode special, so we're going to start off by telling you a little bit about the process behind this milestone event.
Yeah, no, it was great just listening to these people from years past tell about their amazing experiences, about their entrepreneurial journeys. And I think it was just a great opportunity for each of us to sort of listen in to how they all sort of found their own ways throughout their careers.
I also thought it was fun learning from, so many inspiring people that Lou has gotten to interview throughout the years. And something that I really took away from the experience was navigating software to edit the episodes. I have never done that before, and getting to work on this experience through Lou, it has really taught me a lot about editing podcast episodes.
Yeah, definitely an enjoyable experience. College often feels like you're not working on anything too substantial, but sort of working on a real project. And I personally enjoyed working on the intro with the voiceover artist, Steve O'Brien.
Yeah, I really liked listening back to those old episodes and hearing some really fascinating stories of how these people are navigating the world, which kind of relates to our theme for today's episode. We're going to be talking about how we have been thriving loud during the pandemic and how you can as well. So John, tell me how you've been making the most of your newfound time.
Yeah, so definitely when the pandemic first hit, there was a lot of open time there. And I guess over these 2 years, I've learned to take advantage of that newfound time. I'm a junior, so when the pandemic first hit, I was a freshman. I left campus middle of the year, and they basically sent us home for 2 weeks without any classes. And we were first presented with a moment of freedom. You sort of feel like you have plenty of time in the world. So I didn't do much at all those first 2 weeks before classes resumed online. When those classes started again, though, I realized I had a sort of remorse about not doing those things you always want to do when you have free time. You always say you want to do those things. So yeah, when I was going back to classes, I realized that while sitting in a 3-hour online lab, maybe I could do more with my time at home instead of just chilling out, playing video games and stuff like that. So when school did finally end and the COVID summer was beginning, I decided that I definitely wanted to explore some of my hobbies and my interests more so than I had before. And sort of the next step on that is just starting with very baseline interest, not going too deep into anything, just watching YouTube videos you find interesting or reading books you find interesting. I definitely am a bit of a stickler for like classic books, but maybe I can open my mind a bit more on that one too.
Yeah, John, I've learned a lot of really interesting things off of YouTube during the pandemic. Lots of fun informational videos. I like that tip.
Yeah, for sure. And then that stuff kind of allows you to go onward and find what you're interested even more. You sort of can get a better grasp of what fuels your creativity when you find the exact topics that speak to you when you're just exploring your interests in a lighthearted way. So that next step is definitely reflecting on that more lighthearted stuff and maybe deciding what you can cut out, what activities you can cut out, what activities mean the most to you, and sort of find that hobby or that interest that's really going to drive you forward in life. And the final step I have is don't underestimate how hard that process is. It's easy to become discouraged if you just get mad at yourself all the time for not doing anything in your break. Obviously, you're not going to be perfect and you're going to chill out for a bit, and that's healthy. You need to do that too. So yeah, definitely explore your interests in the free time you have. Use that anger you have at yourself, that annoyance you have at yourself to fuel your exploration of your interests, and take some time to reflect and meditate on what you find most fulfilling in your time.
Yeah, of course. Actually, it's interesting that you speak on that because even just looking back at my COVID summer, obviously it was a little different going from not only in person to online, but from high school to college. And I would say because of that, it honestly gave me a little bit more time to really find myself as well. And something I want to add on, I think, is that I wouldn't say you need to feel pressured to always be progressive. One thing that I found during my free time, was that I really loved hiking, especially with friends back home. And just finding that new passion, it really drove me to sort of find a new part of myself that I enjoy that maybe doesn't pertain to sort of progressing myself in any way.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I definitely hope I highlighted that it's not all about finding exactly what you need to do in life. It's finding the joy in life you can find in everyday things. And I think that pandemic moment for a lot of people, at least in my experience when I'm talking to a lot of college kids, we've all grown a lot in that alone time we had for self-reflection, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think that, this pandemic has been a time to, explore your interests, whether that's something that could help you professionally or something that just gives you more fulfillment in yourself. And it's hard with so much time to almost be scared at the amount of time and to almost be like, well, I'm just going to shut down and do nothing. But I've tried to take this time and explore some passions. I got a lot more into podcasts. I listened to them while doing some cooking. I've gotten really better at cooking as well, which, being able to cook isn't going to help me in class, but it'll make my life a bit more fun and interesting. So it's great to try to use this time to improve yourself, but to not feel pressured to have to.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Now that we've covered how we've all been experiencing this really rapid change in time and opportunities, I was wondering, Zoe, how are you working to strengthen your connections during the pandemic? Has making new friends been difficult?
I believe that moving to a new location or going to a new school is a terrifying experience as it is. But with the additional stress of a pandemic, navigating an unknown school with unknown people was even more difficult than I had originally imagined. I'm from a public high school in South Florida and knew only one person going to Cornell. And as soon as I got to campus, the COVID regulations were extremely strict. Online classes, no more than 4 people in a dorm room, and social distancing required on all parts on campus. Luckily, I became extremely close to my roommate, but even then, it felt like I was missing out on the so-called college experience of meeting all these new people when my friends from home were, getting to experience state colleges and getting to join all these clubs on campus. It just felt like I was always stuck in my dorm. My roommate knew many people from her school before coming to Cornell, so I was able to meet a lot of new friends through her. But with the pandemic, there was little excitement for me to be cramped up in my room every single night of the week. I think second semester of my freshman year, a lot changed. I joined both a social sorority and a professional business fraternity at the same time. And I suddenly knew so many more people on campus that ranged from freshman to senior, and my schedule was packed with plenty of events to meet many of the members. In high school, I had a solid friend group where I felt like I could be 100% myself all the time. But for some reason, I think, likely due to me being cramped up in my room all of first semester, I felt as if I was holding myself back. Anxious thoughts filled my mind each day as I felt like I had to put my best foot forward when meeting all these new people. I was scared and upset because first semester, this was all I had wanted, to expand my network of friends and peers on campus. But for some reason, I felt like I couldn't be myself. After a few months, I started to release these anxious thoughts after finding people in these organizations that I could trust to be a good friend and who I felt like I could truly be myself around. Now, a semester later, living in my sorority house, I can wholeheartedly say that I am so incredibly happy to have met my best friends at a school I once felt was not my home. This main mindset switch was realizing that any relationship is going to take time. What others may post on social media of them having, the best time of their life is not always real, and they too have their own issues. No one magically becomes friends with these people overnight, but instead they took the time to build their relationship and enjoyed the process of getting to know them too. Another note is that my previous mindset of having to put my best foot forward was a mistake. When you meet the right types of people, your natural personality will shine. There's no need to fake a part of yourself just in attempts to fit in. The right people will love and appreciate you for who you truly are.
Yeah, I think you guys, your year, the sophomores now, definitely got the worst end of the deal because you all didn't get like the end of high school, nor did you get the beginning of college, whereas this year's freshmen got a little of both of those because we had been used to the pandemic for a while. Do you think your year grew more out of that transition to college than this year's freshmen?
I feel like our year was really met with kind of the shock of all of it. I mean, I remember for me, it was the week before my senior show in high school. We were doing Little Shop of Horrors, and we get an email that we have 2 weeks off. And I thought, okay, the show's going to be delayed, but we'll be back soon. And I didn't know that that would be my last day in high school. And so I think going from that, like such a shock, to then moving into college and having to quarantine for 2 weeks and shipping my stuff to school and my parents not being able to move me in, it just really felt like super jarring. So I think that was a lot to adjust to, as well as like, okay, now I have to figure out where I'm going to get my meals from and I have to do all my homework and everything. I think that this year's freshmen, they didn't quite have to deal with that. All the kinks were worked out. But I think we've definitely grown stronger from these challenges. Would you agree, Zoe?
I would definitely agree. And going back to your question, John, I can only speak for myself as a sophomore. I'm sure that each grade had their own challenges. I'm sure that the freshmen now also didn't feel like they had the most amazing introduction to college, considering that, there's still plenty of regulations in place, or maybe they still feel like they missed out on a large chunk of high school, considering that the pandemic happened their junior year when, they're trying to visit colleges and apply to colleges. So I definitely felt like a lot of the weight was put on my class year. But then again, I think that no matter who you talk to, even, both students and adults alike, everyone's going through their own challenges.
Yeah, it's a novel experience for everyone.
While adjusting to college life during a pandemic was difficult, I think another difficult adjustment is trying to go back to this new sort of normal. Liam, how have you worked with this?
I kind of wanted to talk about this just because I understand that whether it be in college, high school, or in your professional career, we are all having to face the same challenges of returning back to our in-person normalcy. I feel like I wanted to share stories sort of similar to Zoe's. Adele, Zoe, and I are all sophomores. And as she mentioned, it was extremely hard sort of transitioning into Cornell, not only because it's a new school, but because of this new idea of online academics. You know, I'm from Hawaii. I did not know what to expect coming to Cornell. Truth be told, I thought it was on the outskirts of New York City, and I was extremely disappointed to learn that it was 4 hours away. But, that left me with a huge culture shock, sort of becoming acclimated to this culture 6,000 miles away. It was tough. It was tough. But eventually, academically, you get used to the monotony of online school. You wake up 5 minutes before your class. You stay in your dorm all day. You watch Zoom lectures. You pause. You 2 times speed. You re-record. And, I'll be the first to say it was kind of easy. These open note finals really make the students feel like they're on top of the world. And it sort of took me into that mindset going into sophomore year that, GPA doesn't matter all that much, or that, you can get through college and it's a breeze. But coming back to Cornell, hearing that it was all in person, I thought, I had those thoughts. I thought I'd be fine. But, it's a different world waking up 30, 40 minutes before class to be presentable, going to your in-person lectures where you can't pause. You have to always be taking notes, and then just keeping those study habits that you had in high school, bringing them back was just so difficult for me particularly. And I'll be honest, I quickly fell behind. I have had my worst academic year ever, and that was extremely disappointing. Not only for myself, but for the people who really cared about me. I dealt with a bunch of personal problems in the background, and I really felt this urge to sort of go back home to find my comfort zone back at the University of Hawaii. But something that kept me going was just realizing that this is reality. The pandemic won't last forever. No matter how many variants there are, whether we like it or not, we are always going to keep pushing forward into the world that we do. And I really wanted to share this story because I feel like it's important to help people realize that while we do have this newfound free time and while it is getting back to normal, we should be using this time to utilize it to the best of our ability, but also prepare for our near future of returning back to normal. And that is what I've learned sort of coming out of COVID.
Found when I came to college that the biggest transition was sort of managing yourself, and definitely online school really didn't lend much experience in that. Do you think by the end of this rough semester for everyone, definitely, but this rough first in-person semester, are you sort of finding that new, if not the old ways you used to study, a new method to face up to college studying?
Yeah, of course, John. I think what I learned, there was sort of this, I wouldn't say anger, but passion, just seeing, first and foremost, when those final grades came back after putting us through the ringer, moving everything online, just having our office hours canceled, studying just put in a whirlwind, seeing those final grades come back, not particularly what I wanted, it really ignited this passion in me to sort of hop back on the horse, get back into how I used to study and sort of prepare for my future that way. Because I know like college now, or it's not, like I said, it's not going to be the same. And I feel like the only way to truly be your best self is going forward, be my best self, is to try to return back to the normalcy that I used to live in, even if that means we're going to be going through more Omicron variants or whatever. You just always have to be on top of your stuff. I think that's what it comes down to.
Like you said, it's an adjustment, but it's definitely the real world. That's how things always change.
Yeah,
This one just happened to be
unfortunately.
drastic.
Yeah, I think it's about, rebuilding those habits again. It's tough. but it's has to be done sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody expected us to have a 2-year break, a 2-year
That being said, I'll
shaking.
be the first to say, I would not mind going back online next semester. So
That's controversial.
Oh.
Lots of people do want to stay in person.
I'm definitely feeling that because it's a lot easier. But I know, like, socially and mentally, that's not not the best thing for anyone. But the temptation is there.
I actually find it a lot harder to be motivated when classes are online.
I think I probably wrote notes better online because I could like screenshot stuff, but I was zoning out all the time. Being in person keeps me focused. I know this is actually a bit of a debate because some schools are going online for the beginning of next semester with Omicron. How would you feel if that happened?
I feel there's benefits and there's pros and cons. I feel like a lot of 300-person lectures would be beneficial for the students to be able to sort of pause, re-record, and take notes that way. But you definitely lose that in-person element of just getting to know your professors or being able to talk to a TA. And it's sad, I feel like I've gone a year and a half in my college experience where I maybe know 1 or 2 professors personally, which is disheartening to say the least. But obviously, when I made the joke academically, I feel like online, like I mentioned before, is a lot easier. So like I said, there's just benefits to everything. And then there's disadvantages to everything as well.
One thing we can't fail to mention during this episode is the saddest reality of this pandemic, and that's all the amazing lives we've lost. Worldwide, almost 5.5 million people have died of COVID-19 or COVID-19 related complications. My grandmother passed away at the beginning of the pandemic due to the rapid spread it had through nursing homes. She would have been 100 this year. And during all the tough challenges this pandemic has brought us, which we've just discussed before, I lost my father in the spring of 2021 of unrelated causes. With so much grief surrounding the world and our communities, it may seem impossible how one could get through it all, but it is possible. I want to share just a little bit about my takeaways. The biggest thing I've taught myself is that it's okay to take time for yourself and that everyone's grieving process is different. We've just extensively discussed time. And remember that time is yours and it's something that you can hopefully control. It may seem hard to manage that relationship with your time, and we all have so many things to do, especially as college students, but taking that time for self-care and having proper rest is one of the best things someone can do for themselves. While I'm sure many of our listeners today might have known someone who's passed during this pandemic, some have not, and it may seem hard to relate to this. But I think something we've really hit on today is that whether you've grieved a loss of a family member, a friend, or not, everyone has grieved the loss of important life events, like missing a graduation, a prom, a wedding, a vacation, or even loss of connections, missing some of those opportunities at our school. People have lost jobs and homes. So with this, I want to share with you a quote that's kind of helped me speak to all of this. The reality is that you'll grieve forever. You will not get over the loss of a loved one. You'll learn to live with it. You will heal and you will rebuild yourself around the loss you've suffered. You will be whole again, but you will never be the same. Nor should you be the same, nor would you want to. By Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and David Kessler. I think that's something that we've discussed as well, is the idea that we're all very changed from these 2 years. Like, we're not the same person. We've lost skills, we've gained them. Everything's changed. And that we will become whole again, but we shouldn't want to be the same person from before the pandemic because we've all grown. So while we can't get these 2 years back, or the people, or the events we've missed, everyone on this podcast and listening today should remember to stay strong and know that the finish line is ahead, even if it feels like it keeps moving further and further away, or as Liam said, more and more variants. So remember to be kind to those around you, because you never know when something's going to happen.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.